When I said if it's like this for a little bit of money, I can imagine how it is for a lot of money. Once I build this to where I want to be, I don't want to have arguments about that amount of money either. I want everything to just work out the way it's supposed to work out. And I don't ever want to be arguing with people about money. The way that I think about money is very much law of attraction and not operating from a place of lack, operating from a place of abundance. Even if things aren't going the way that you want them to at a particular time, you're not supposed to operate from a place of scarcity. So that's not the way I even think about things. And I do notice, or did notice when we were hanging out, that in a lot of cases, that's more where his mindset was. It's like let me make sure I get everything right now. And it's like, that's not the way I operate. Like, I'm a lot more chill than that. I mean, like, I make sure that I get paid what I'm supposed to get paid. But at the same time, I'm not always operating from this place of desperation. Hey guys, just so you know, this week I will be headlining the Stand Up or Sit Down show. I will put the information down below in the description box so you guys can make reservations to go if you want to go. That show usually does sell out, so do make your reservations. Popular show. I like doing it. Stand Up or Sit Down here in Las Vegas on Friday. That'll be tomorrow by the time I put this out. So, yeah. On Friday, Stand Up or Sit Down, check me out. I'm really not looking forward to doing this one, you guys. Anyway, let's get unbothered.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Thai Rivera. That's right, it's Unbothered by Thai Rivera. I'm your host, Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, guys, let's cut straight to it. I really didn't want to do this one, and I posted on Facebook about this a little bit because I wanted to kind of send out a warning shot to AJ, maybe get a hold of me, maybe get in contact, because I have not spoken with AJ since we had an exchange through text. He never officially quit Ocha person to person, but I accepted anyway, and it's not like it was a formal job or whatever. The original agreement with AJ was always if he ever didn't want to do Ocha anymore, I was completely fine with that and I would have no problems with it. And that's something I told him in the very beginning when he started helping me. I know what it takes to be involved with me just as far as somewhat social consequences here on the Vegas scene. So I wouldn't expect anybody to take that on. And he took it on for quite a while, and I appreciate that part of him. And I still do love AJ as a friend. I just don't like that he's misrepresented the situation to other people, and I don't like that he's kind of put words into my mouth. If I wanted to say something a particular way, that's the way that I would say it. So I don't need anybody rephrasing anything that I said, especially when they never even gave me the courtesy of having a chat with me about what it was that they didn't like that I said. The other thing that's getting on my nerves is I've heard that AJ has recently started being shady with Casper, who Casper is basically in the same situation that AJ was when AJ helped me after I decided Delilah wasn't going to be on the show anymore, except for AJ chose not to be on the show. I didn't tell AJ not to be on the show. I didn't want him on the show anymore. That wasn't the way that it went down. So he chose to quit being a part of Ocha, which, like I said, I'm fine with. But then he's acting shitty with Casper about it when Casper really did just step in and help me out last minute. Like, once I found out through another friend that AJ probably wasn't going to help me with Ocha anymore, then I kind of had to figure it out. It happened on like a Saturday that I figured out, or maybe a Sunday that I figured out, because me and AJ got into it on Friday, and then by Sunday, that's when our mutual friend, he just was telling me I would probably count on AJ not being there next week. Just to give you a heads up, I would say that you should plan for something else. And so I needed help with the sound, which AJ didn't give me any clue on how I would handle the sound because of the mics. AJ usually handled that. Also, I needed someone to do the flyer. So it was like a last minute scramble. So I had between Monday and Thursday to figure that out. I hit Casper up just wondering if he would be willing to do it. And he said that he definitely was. And then I got in contact with a guy on Facebook that said that he can do flyers. And so I had him do the flyer for me. I paid for the flyer. And here's what went down and why I don't appreciate the way that AJ has handled this. I do, believe it or not, even though some people have a different idea of me, I try to be a good friend. I try to be a good person. So the reason that I even think about things the way that I do or can put this together like this is because once somebody makes it seem like I did something wrong, I'll really start trying to scan my memory and be like, okay, where did I go wrong? What did I do that was maybe not the best? And what I did in this situation with AJ, the part that I'll take full responsibility for, was I was starting to get a little annoyed with certain things and I hadn't told him from the beginning, and I had started to build up a little bit of resentment about that, and I thought that would subside, and it would subside. It would go on and off where I'd feel cool, and then sometimes I'd be like, yeah, I'm really not liking the way that part's being handled. And so eventually it just got to a point where he hit me up about this particular situation, which I'm going to get into right now, and I just was feeling extra like get it off my chest energy, and so I just went ahead and let AJ know where I was at. So I kind of knew things were not going to go the best for me and AJ, and probably were going to end up falling apart when I was in Sarasota, Florida. Now keep in mind that when I'm in Sarasota, Florida, they're 3 hours ahead, and so I had finished the show there for Thursday. Ocha doesn't start till 11, which is 2 a.m. in Florida, so I took a nap between my show and between when Ocha would start so that I could watch the YouTube live and help AJ decide who the winner was going to be and be on the chat. Our numbers were going up on the YouTube because I was in the chat and being so active, and people were trying to troll me, which I was fine with because it was making the numbers go up. It was pushing us up on the algorithm. It was like there wasn't huge numbers, but it did help. And also, like, I was being engaged with the show. I have to watch what's going on because it is part my show. So I was working while I was there. Also, while I was gone, since we always do the $25 of Thai Rivera's rent money, I had given AJ the $50 for the 2 weeks that I was going to be gone, because I was going to be in Sarasota and then I was in Sacramento the week after. So 2 weeks I was going to be gone. So I gave AJ $50 before I even left in cash. I forgot about that $50 that I gave him, but we'll get to that in a second. So what happened when I was in Sarasota was a guy from Detroit had gone in to do a set, and I had chatted with him several weeks before on Facebook. He had hit me up, and he is a friend of a comedian by the name of Mike Ball that lives in Detroit. And I like Mike Ball, or what I know of him. I don't know him the best, but he's booked a lot of comic friends of mine, and he runs his own stuff there, and he's just an independent like comedy guy producing his own shows. And I like what he's doing out there. I met him in person I think once now, but we've chatted online a bit, and I respect him, he respects me. So when this guy said that he was a friend of Mike Ball's, I was like, yeah, definitely come out. I'll go ahead and make sure that we get you on, that kind of stuff. So what happens is AJ asked me if I know this particular name, because I didn't remember that that's the week that he was coming. Obviously I'm in Florida, so that's not what I'm thinking about. But anyway, so AJ hits me up and asks me if I know this guy. AJ says that the guy name dropped me, and people aren't very likely to name drop me because I'm the kind of person that if you name drop me and you shouldn't, I'm gonna put a stop to that right away. And so people usually don't want to mess with that energy too much because they'll get embarrassed. And so it was unlikely to me that somebody would mention my name without a reason. So I went in and searched his name on Facebook. I saw that we had been messaging. He was the guy. So I asked AJ if he could get him on early, because I had told the guy that we would get him on early. I'm like that, not just if I know somebody, but also if somebody's visiting from out of town, because I want the Mike at Ocha to have that kind of reputation. I want comics to go back to their home cities and home states and be like, hey, we did this show. It was wild. It was crazy. It was fun. They were nice to us. That helps keep new life in the rooms. Also, I just don't want to get a reputation for being shitty with visiting comics. I've been in that position where I've been visiting and people have not been nice to me. It's been a long time since that's happened, but it has happened before, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to be that kind of room. So there was that. So I end up hitting that guy Jason up, sending him a message and just saying, hey, did you get it figured out? He sent me a message back that let me know that AJ had been kind of shitty with him. So I hit AJ up and was just like, oh, you weren't able to get him up. And then I was like, AJ was like, said something, I don't remember what it was. And I was like, yeah, he said you weren't able to get him up any sooner than 19 and he wasn't able to be around that long. And when I had spoken with AJ and had asked him if he could do me a big favor and just go ahead and let that guy in early, I expected AJ to handle that. Not AJ to tell him that he was only able to get him in number 19. That's not doing him a favor. That's not doing me a favor. That's not what your job is. So I was a little bit annoyed with that, but I'm still trying to be cool about it. So when I hit AJ up about it, AJ hits me with, I don't appreciate somebody dropping your name. And it's like, but if he had the right to use my name because I had in fact spoken with him, then I don't feel like you should have been shitty with him, and I don't want you being shitty with people to begin with. And that's what I said on the text messages to AJ, was just like, please don't be unnecessarily shitty with people. And I was like, I have a bad memory. And then AJ, still being kind of shitty with me, says, well, take fish oil or something like that. And then I let it go at that moment. He still had to run the show, and I could see that not really being the best time to have that conversation. I went ahead and let it go and didn't pursue it any further, even though it really did bother me in the moment. Not just that he had mistreated that person, but also that when I brought it up to him, he got shitty with me. So I didn't realize this was going to become any kind of trend or anything like that, but that's what I started to feel like was beginning to happen after what I'm going to tell you next. So I'm gone for the 2 weeks. The other thing that I did was, there was the week that AJ got in the argument. That's when I was in Sacramento. He got in the argument with that guy, Mark Seltzer, where he kicked the guy off stage. I didn't address that with AJ, and I didn't really make it a big deal, but in my head, that really should have never happened. And the reason that should have never happened was because I have my own personal policy, and I can't expect AJ to live this way, and I don't even know if AJ knows that this was my thing. I know I've mentioned it before, but I don't know if AJ really has taken note of that. My thing is, at Ocha, sometimes people will be like outsiders, never anybody that actually goes to Ocha, will be like, Ty just interrupts people's set because he's being a bully. No, here's the deal with me, and I have said it before, even on the YouTube live. You can hear me say it on several episodes or several of the videos, the lives from YouTube. I'll say, if I don't like you, I won't say anything to you. I'll let you just do your set. It's only if I like somebody that I'll actually interject, or I'll try to help them out if maybe their set's not doing the best. That's the way I work, because otherwise it would be bullying, and I don't want people to feel like they're not welcome there, even if I don't like them, except for one person, and I'll tell that story next week, or maybe in a couple days. We'll see how I feel. Anyway, AJ legitimately didn't like this guy. It was obvious he didn't like him. So it wasn't really coming from the best place, and I think that's why it turned out so shitty. But I didn't make a big deal of that. It still was content, and I was like, let me go ahead and use this for promotion. That video ended up getting 2,500 views. It had everybody talking about us on Facebook. A lot of people talking about us on Facebook. And so it wasn't the worst thing in the world, and it still was promo. And it's like they say, all publicity is good publicity. So I'm not going to act like I hated the situation, but that was a lot of editing for me, because I had to go back. I had to go through the long version. Then I had to edit in the stuff that Trevor James had sent me, which was the footage that's like closer. I also had to record the commentary and talk about, the fact that Dee had won that week, and I think Naomi Starr had won the week before, and how well they had both done in their respective weeks. And so there was a bit that I had to talk about in there that also went with it for promo purposes. And so that took about 6 hours. Editing isn't an easy job, including the uploading, which usually takes about an hour, depending on the connection that I'm dealing with. So anyway, so there's 6 hours right there. Then there's, like I said, the fact that I had to be up from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. and take a nap in between, like my show and Ocha the week before while I was in Sarasota. Then in Sacramento, I also watched the whole live again, except for now we're on the same time zone, so it wasn't quite as hard. But if you ask Bruce Leonard, immediately after we left the show that we were doing in Sacramento, I put my earbuds in, and then on the drive back, I was watching the show, I was chatting on the live, I was doing all the stuff that I was supposed to do. So not only was I still working while I was gone, still working for the show, watching the show, so 3 hours, which is the same amount of time that AJ has to be there doing the editing, so another 6 hours on top of that, and then on top of that, still giving the $50 to AJ so that the 2 weeks would be covered. So it's not like I'm not working while I'm out of town. So yeah, I am out of town, and AJ is physically there, and I do respect that he's physically there, but I'm still working for the show while I'm out of town. So I get back to town the following week, obviously, after Sacramento, and that was my first week back. And so me and AJ are talking about the show afterwards, after we do after we do Ocha, we're talking, and I'm just thinking in my head, I hadn't remembered that I had given the $50, and I was just trying to think, like, do I owe you any money, is the way I was thinking. And so AJ brought up, the fact that I had given him the $50. So he was like, that was covered. And I was like, okay, cool. And then, like, I'm just doing math in my head and I'm doing it out loud. So, so I'm sitting next to AJ and I was like, okay, so I gave you the $50. So that's $25 for each week. I was like, and then there was like the money from those weeks that we got from Ocha. And like I said, I'm just thinking in my head. And then he interrupts me. And in this tone, he says, yeah, and I put that money into my gas tank. Okay, well, I don't know why you're getting shitty with me right now, but it's like 2 a.m. We just wrapped up doing the actual mic, and I wasn't in the mood to argue. Nobody told you to take my money, and it was a minuscule amount of money, so I'm not going to pretend like it was money I was counting on or money that I needed or anything like that. But if you do think about it, with me still working, there's no reason that you should decide that you're just going to take my portion of the money. If I decide to do that, if I decide to say that that's what we're going to do, that's one thing. But you should not on your own make the decision that I'm not getting my money without even telling me and just put it in your gas tank. And then on top of that, have the nerve to start talking to me like I'm your petulant wife. I am not your wife. I'm not your girlfriend. You don't talk to me in the tone of, yeah, and I put it in my gas tank. Okay, broke. I'm not trying to be mean, but there's no other reason for you to get that defensive about what would have been $34. So I just let it go, though. I was still willing to be whatever about it. I mean, like, because I told him in the moment, I was like, yeah, because I got like slightly annoyed, in the moment right back and was just like, yeah, I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't asking that way. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't owe you any money, that you're not short. So while I'm trying to make sure he's not short, he's pissy with me because he knows he shorted me. And yeah, in the moment, I didn't really think about it that way. But looking back on it, that's exactly what it was. So you're pissy with me because you didn't give me my money. And I'm trying to make sure that you're whole. So I don't know where the anger comes in, but let's move on to the next week. So the following week, Skippy Sprinkles, who we all love, ends up winning. I love Skippy Sprinkles. AJ loves Skippy Sprinkles. The room loves Skippy Sprinkles. The entire Vegas comedy scene loves Skippy Sprinkles. So Skippy Sprinkles ends up sending AJ a message saying that we can keep his money to divide it between the three of us, me, David, and AJ. David Hulett is the guy that plays organ, piano, keys, tickles the ivories for the show. And David Hulett's made it known that he's not worried about money. Right now, he doesn't have an agreement with us where he gets paid. He's just learning on the job, basically. The way that I plan for things to turn out for Ocha and the way that things will turn out for Ocha, David Hulett will get paid after we get everything figured out. He'll be a regular paid cast member on the show. But for right now, it's just not part of it. And so I put my money back into Ocha. Like anything I get from Ocha, I pretty much put back into Ocha, which that's the other thing. Like I always said that I was okay with the 60-40 split that we were doing, or I guess that would be a 40-60 split since I'm the 40. But really, I didn't see why that was necessary. I think AJ just needed money more than I did from Ocha, and so I got that and I was cool with it, but he wasn't really doing enough to be worth that for me in a way. Like I was cool with it and I can accept it, but even just getting 10% more, it's like, yeah, you have the things you're better at, but as far as the online promotion, I'm handling all of that stuff. So yeah, you do host, and then the flyer, which I appreciate him doing the flyer, but if you notice, the flyer is just a template. Like he made the template in the beginning, and then he just changes out the headliner for every picture. He did that for everyone except for the Budsy one, because he wanted to have fun with the fact that Budsy is shirtless and I like that one. I'm not talking shit about it, but I'm just saying It's not like he's making a new flyer every week. So justifying that doesn't really make sense to me, like why he would be worth more than me in the situation. If I had just come up with it on my own, I would have said we should have just gone 50-50, because that way it just stays on a level playing field. We both get what we're supposed to get. And so I let him know, and I want to read you guys exactly the way it went down, just so you guys can know why it got on my nerves that he was saying the things he was saying afterwards. So he sent me the message from Skippy, and then I sent him. And for Skippy's money, if you're all right with it, we can just add it to the pot and keep adding the extra $25 for 3 more weeks. Feel free to let me know thoughts, though. I'm open. And that was because the way that it works is, I've told you guys before, Note puts in 25. That's the owner of Ocha. I put in 25, and then we've been using the $25 every week from Robert Real Deal Martinez, which was $150 that he had won. And so that was going to be the last week of that money, the week that Skippy offered to give us his money back. The other thing I want to mention is I didn't really feel comfortable taking Skippy's money, because I feel like that's almost like being bribed for a win, even though I know it was after the fact. I just wasn't comfortable with us just keeping that money. I felt like it should go back into Ocha. And then let's also factor in, when we're talking about money, the fact that I'm the one that bought the mics that we used. Those were $200. I bought them on Amazon. And then also we got cards for Ocha, and that was $56, I think, and I paid for all of that. So $256 of my own money that I've invested in Ocha. Also the $25 every week, making it for some weeks where I either lose a little bit of money or just break even or make $3 or $4, honestly. And so AJ's investment wasn't necessarily the heftiest, but it is what it is. And Skippy did say for us to split it between the 3 of us, but I did assume, and I shouldn't have assumed either, that AJ would just be cool with putting it back into the pot, because since we're running out of Robert Real Deal Martinez money, now we're out of it, then we could add 3 more weeks, because Skippy had won 75, and so it would have been $25 each week. Like I said, David Hulett, I knew was fine with that. He knows this. This isn't news. I told him like right after. It's not like I keep these things from people. I just don't really expect anybody to care that much about $25. But who am I to dig in anybody's pockets? Anyway, so AJ sends me back. I hate to say it, but I could really use my $25 of the pot Skippy is giving away. If it was 2 weeks from now, I would throw it in for sure. And I sent back all good. And then I sent him, we should talk about Ocha soon. He put, what's up? Good stuff, I hope. Fingers crossed. And then I put, just thinking about money situation, not sure how I'm feeling. And then he said, you think we should just ask for a guarantee? And then I sent back, I'm more talking about the money between us, like the 2 weeks I was gone. I was trying to figure that out my first night back, and you started to tell me how you had put what would have been my part in your tank. And on the one hand, I was going to tell you, you could have kept that, but it shouldn't be assumed. Both weeks I was watching and keeping up live chat, even though I wasn't there. And then he sent back, I see what you're saying. I could have included you in that decision. I know you don't like to be kept out of things. I'm sure it's not about the $34 in total that would be yours, but rather just wanting consideration in the future, especially if you're trying to help out while on the road. And then I sent back, yeah, I just don't think it would be assumed that I'm forfeiting my part. I appreciate you doing the flyer and stuff you do, but editing isn't an easy job either and takes literally hours. He sent back, cool. And I put, I want to continue to build it and have to figure out how to talk to Note about budget. And then he said, great, how are we going to do that? And then, because I had a tattoo done that day, this tattoo, and you can't see it. There you go. And so I had a tattoo done that day. And when I get my tattoos done, because obviously my tattoo guy is working in the day, so I had to be there at noon. So that means I didn't sleep the night before, you know, because this is the day after Ocha that we're discussing this. Ocha happens on Thursday. This is Friday that we're having this conversation at about 5 p.m. So I've been up for a long time at that point. And so I'm getting ready to go to sleep. I end up falling asleep after he asked me, how are we going to do that? And then I figured I shouldn't continue down that line. So, because I more was interested in us talking about that situation as far as the money, my money went, and how that just got assumed. But I know that sometimes I can get a little more annoyed with things than I should get, especially if I haven't had sleep. And so I was like, let me just let this rest, So I went into sleep mode at that point. So I wake up and he sent me his Cash App. Like his Cash App. And I don't fuck with Cash App like that. Like, I have a Cash App and I have a Cash App card, but unless somebody sends me money on Cash App, I have nothing in my Cash App. I don't have my Cash App connected to my bank account because I don't trust Cash App. That's what it is. I do Venmo. But I'm also annoyed because he sends that to me and then he sends it with the text for that $25. Which I'm starting to get annoyed because it's like, how bad do you need this $25 that you're sending me a Cash App? And plus, nobody ever has to send me a Cash App because I will get your money to you. I am not a person that anybody has to chase down for any amount of money. I will make sure that you get your money. If I tell you you're going to get your money, you're going to get your money. I drove Jay Monet's money out to her when she had wanted Ocha and I had to wait to collect. And so I drove her money out to her across town. So I am not a person that anybody has to worry about getting money from. If I owe you, you're going to get it. So that got on my nerves. And so I just said, yeah, no. And then this is where he gets on my nerves because I know the tone that this has been. And, because you asked me and then you said, okay. Also, that's what Skippy wanted. And then that's when I sent no because I don't use Cash App and you got that money when you took my part from the 2 shows when I was gone. There comes a point where I'll feel taken advantage of. I put in money every week and don't ask you for part of it, but I still get 40 in the 40-60 split. I wanted to put the money toward the show, not for myself. And also, I hate when people find out they could get money and then act like they were counting on that money. Did you know Skippy was going to say that? So it was part of your budget? And then I put in quotes, that's what Skippy wanted. It wasn't his dying wish. Then there's the fact that I just woke up and using an app I never used to send money that would have to come from my bank account and not the cash I have set aside for Ocha isn't at the top of my list of things to do. He said, okay, I didn't know all that. Sorry. And then I said, anyway, if it's like this over a little bit of money, I can just imagine how it would be over a lot of money. I'm trying to grow something and I get it if it's not your idea, but it's starting to seem kind of one-sided. I stopped messaging earlier because I wanted to gather my thoughts and think about where I'm at on it. It's obviously not about the money, but more the disregard for my part in it. I love you and I don't want to argue about it, but I also don't want to build up resentment by not addressing my own thoughts. So that was the way that the conversation went. Now, I never used the word steal, stole, or stolen during that exchange. Yeah, I felt a little taken advantage of, and yeah, I don't feel like I should just be the only one putting into Ocha at a certain point and then still getting the 40% out of a 60-40 split. I just don't feel like that was all adding up for me, and I don't think it's okay for you to decide to keep $34 from me. But then when it comes to $25, you act like that $25 is the most important thing in the world. And if it had been the old me or the less evolved me, the way that I would have handled that is when he said that he wanted to actually have the money that Skippy was giving him, the $25. What I would have done if it had been the old me was I would have said, okay, great. I'll take that $25 and now you only owe me $9 on the $34 that you kept from me when I was out of town. That's what the old me would have been, and I would have sent him back my Cash App and been like, get that $9 to me as soon as you have a chance. But I wasn't trying to be that bitchy version of myself. I was trying to be just a little bit more cool about it, and I was trying not to burn the relationship because I thought we were going to continue to work on things. I thought he would tell me how he felt about what I had said. We'd have a chat about it like adults, and then we'd move on. Because obviously, like I said, I wasn't worried about the $34. But if you think about the $34, Also, in relation to the fact that I had given him the 50 before I left, now I'm $16 short on the 50 that I gave him because numbers were down when I was gone. I'm not saying that's because I was gone, but it might have been. I don't know why numbers all of a sudden went up again when I went back, but that's what happened. So anyway, here I am feeling like I'm being taken advantage of a little bit. And I'm going to be honest with that when that's happening because, yeah, I will be nice to you. Also, the week before, he had left his wallet in Trevor's car and he had said that he was walking. And so I told him that if he wanted to, I would go pick him up. I went out of my way and I did offer, so I'm not making this seem like something he made me do or he asked me to do. I offered to do it, but I'm just telling you guys the kind of friend I am. I offered to do it. I went and picked him up, took him to get his wallet, took him back to the gas station so that he could get gas in his car, because his car had run out of gas. I didn't ask him for anything. He did offer me. He asked me if I wanted gas money. I said, no, I didn't want gas money. He asked me if I wanted anything from inside the store. I said, no, I didn't want anything from inside the store. So I didn't take anything from him at all. And then here he is busting my balls about this $25. Also, there were different times that I took him out for dinner, and that happened enough times. Like, he knows that. Also, there were times when we did Ocha together, and I was in town, and I still told him that he could keep the money. So it's not like I'm not a good friend. It's not like I haven't been generous, but you don't get to decide when I'm going to be generous. That is not your decision to make. Just because I'll let you get by on some things or be kind of cool with you because I know that maybe you're in a tough spot financially or whatever, and I'm not trying to clown about that. It's just what it is. A lot of times he's in a tough spot financially, and this is why I didn't want to talk about all this, because I thought this might be a little bit embarrassing, and me as a friend, even if I'm not talking to you, I don't feel like that's something that I should bring up or throw in your face or talk about publicly. I was just willing to do the little cover story that I gave you guys the first time, and I was fine with that. I don't even mind if people got a bad idea from me or just assume the worst because it's me. I don't care about that. I'm willing to take that hit to not embarrass my friend. But once I end up hearing from more than one person that you're telling people that the reason you stopped doing Ocha was because I accused you of stealing, that's where I'm going to stop you, because I did not at any point accuse you of stealing. If you're going to say that maybe I said that I felt a little taken advantage of, or maybe you, like whatever you want to say, if you want to tell the truth, tell the truth. If you want to show people my text messages, show people my text messages. But do not tell people that the reason that you quit was because I accused you of stealing when I didn't accuse you of stealing. So then it finally hit me. Okay, so he keeps saying that I accused him of stealing from me, which means that he must have a guilty conscience, because I never used that terminology. So he must have a guilty conscience, and then he must be trying to tell me that he did steal from me. And if you think about it, he did steal from me, because what am I supposed to do? Make a scene if you tell me that you put my $34 in your gas tank? You basically just punked me for my money. You basically just said, yeah, I have your money. I put it in my gas tank. What are you going to do about it? That's what it was. And then just to let you guys know the kind of guy I am, since he made that thing about Skippy's money and then he blocked me because I sent him a text message on that Sunday, I believe it was. I sent him a text message asking him if he was quitting Ocha. Oh, Saturday, I sent him the text message at 1:54 p.m. and I sent him a message asking him if he was quitting Ocha, and it came up in green, which lets you know that he had blocked me. So then after I realized he wasn't going to do Ocha, on Sunday, I went in and sent him the $25. I sent it to him via Zelle, and so he got even the money that he was complaining about. So in a sense, he did steal from me because he didn't deserve that $25 and he didn't deserve to just keep my $34. So he stole $59 from me, and all of this was over $59 is apparently what it was. So I hope that money's worth it for him, and I hope he survives off of it for a long time, or whatever it is you do with $59 when you just come into a jackpot like that. Anyway, so I'm saying it now. AJ stole from me. So there, now it's not an accusation anymore. It is something that I've stated as a matter of fact. So if he wants to tell people that I accused him of stealing from me, that's not true anymore either. So he can stop telling that story. He could say, Ty found out that I had stole from him. I convinced Ty that I had stolen from him. Now Ty knows that I've stolen from him. So we could no longer continue our friendship or our working relationship. And like I said, I've done enough stuff for you. I've been cool enough with you that the least you could have done is not in any way try to sully my name, especially after I went out of my way to not embarrass you or say anything that would be out of line towards you. If you listen to the episode that I did when I mentioned that AJ was no longer going to be a part of Ocha, I tried to be as cool about it as I possibly could be. And all of this I felt back then. Exactly what I just told you guys, I felt back then, where it was just like, yeah, why is it I'm the only one putting in, but at the same time, you get half of the say in what's going on. You also get 60% of the money, which is nothing. But I did feel like what I said in that last message, if it's like this over a little bit of money, I can imagine how it would be over a lot of money, because I do plan to build Ocha into something much bigger. I don't have the idea of Ocha just staying the way it is, and Ocha hasn't even reached its final form. There's going to be a rebranding coming up with Ocha, and I really want to continue to build the live. I got to buy a shotgun mic for the live. I know that, Note and the entire staff over at Ocha is very cool about the show, and they're being very helpful, and they're trying to actually help me grow it into something and being as easy as they can be with me. And Casper's a great addition, and if AJ had stayed on, I would have just continued to use AJ. For me, this wasn't even the end. It's just, now it's the end, obviously, but for me, it wasn't really even the end when we had gotten into it like that. That's just the kind of stuff that it is. But if you are broke enough that you're that hard up for $25, then it's probably not going to be the best match for me anyway, because I'm just always thinking about different ways to get more money to invest into Ocha when it comes to Ocha and making Ocha, and at least in the first part, because, we've got Ocha to where, it's somewhat breaking even weekly, so that's cool. But then for it to be able to pay for the other stuff, I feel like I either need to do more on the live or I need to get a sponsor, which is something I've talked about. And then I've worked a different agreement now with Ocha itself, and so that's going to be a good thing. And then there's also the fact that, I know that some people would be like, well, what are you getting off the live? Well, I am monetized on my YouTube, but the lives immediately get demonetized because somebody will say something, which is the way that it works. I'm not complaining about that at all, but just somebody will say something off color. YouTube's AI picks that up, and I can set it to get reviewed later on, and then it'll be monetized again. But since I make it private at the end of the night, there's no chance for it to make any of that money afterwards. So the money that I get on the super chat is the only money that I get from the live. And when it comes to that, YouTube takes 40% of that money. The most we've ever made on a live was $16 or $14. So, and that was on the live itself. So then we get 60% of that, or I get 60% of that. We'll do the math on that. It's not like I was making any money. I'm really making any money off the live. And I appreciate everybody that sends any money at all. So I'm not talking like that, but I'm just saying, it's not like I'm recovering my money there either. So, or it's not like I'm even shorting AJ anything on that. Maybe he would be worried about that amount of money. But my point is, I don't want to argue about small amounts of money. I just don't. I don't want to think about stuff like that. I do what I have to do every week with Ocha, and I try to put as much back in as I possibly can. And having somebody not understand that, and having somebody try to get shitty with me because they're not doing things the way that they're supposed to do. And I never said that I was just going to take care of you indefinitely. I never said I was going to be your sugar daddy. I never said any of that. So I don't know where he got that idea. And when I say that, we went to dinner, we went to decent places for dinner. I know we went to Lindo, Michoacan, I know we went to Red Lobster a couple of times. I paid for us to go to Red Lobster. Red Lobster, I paid for him and Ahmed to have steak at Red Lobster. And I paid for I had a Caesar salad that night because I was watching my girlish figure. But it's not even like I'm taking him to like bottom of the barrel cheap places. I admit those aren't the nicest places in the world, but they're all right, you know? And I did plenty of stuff like that. So it's not like I'm not a good friend. It's not like I'm a cheap friend. So when it comes to that $25, not only did I think he shouldn't have been worried about that $25, but don't send me a goddamn Cash App request for that money or your tag like I need to get it to you right now. I hate when people do that. I hate when people didn't know they had money coming and then all of a sudden they find out that they could possibly get some money and they start acting like, nurse, I need my money right away. I'm dying over here. Shut up. You didn't have that money planned. It's the next day, like the night before, but then he had ran out of gas the week before. And maybe I just don't know how broke people are. Maybe I just don't hang out with people that are broke like that, and there's a reason for it. Because every time I try to be cool with somebody that's broke like that, they always end up pulling some fuck shit and acting like I owe them something just because I did a couple nice things. Suddenly now there's a lifestyle that they've gotten accustomed to. I'm so tired of people. So anyway, that's why I made this episode. And let me know if you guys think I'm full of shit or an asshole for making this episode. But it really did bother me that after I went out of my way not to at all make him look silly, he goes and starts telling people that I had accused him of stealing. God damn it. If I wanted to accuse anybody of stealing, I would accuse somebody of stealing. I wouldn't be beating around the bush. Anyway, the way the show goes is I start off bothered and then I talk about something until I'm unbothered. And I will tell you guys, this is not something I will continue to talk about. I am truly unbothered about this now. And I do feel better about having told you guys about this because it really did bother me that, you know, don't talk about, like, just, how about after I'm cool like that, just keep my name out of your mouth? Because I don't know how much nicer I could have been in the way that I describe things. And understand, botherinas, anytime I do any kind of cover story, it is to protect the other person and not to protect me, because really I run the way I run and I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. And that's just 100% the truth of it. If you hear this story and you're like, I think you're an asshole in this situation, I'll be like, well, then I guess I'm the asshole in the situation as far as you go, because I do the things that I do and I feel the way that I feel, and I'm trying to grow Ocha into something, and that's what my plan is. And unless somebody above me at Ocha, like Note or the staff, decides that I'm no longer a good fit for Ocha, that's what I'm going to do, is work on Ocha the way that I need to be. Casper is a great new addition. David Hulett is getting better every week, and he's great. I fire him every week, but it's part of the fun. But, you know, it is what it is, and that's what it be. Anyway, this has been Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Stay unbothered.